Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Friday, December the 16th, the year 2016. And now, here he is, Mr. Fred Belcastro.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
and the whole world smiles with you.
smiles with you.
And when you're laughing,
When you're laughing,
oh, you're laughing.
oh, you're laughing,
When the sun comes shining through.
shining through.
When you're crying,
When you're crying,
you bring on the rain.
bring on the
Stop
rain.
your sighing.
Stop your sighing,
Won't you be happy again?
happy again.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
keep on smiling.
keep on smiling.
And the whole world
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Wealth and Wisdom program. My name is Fred Belcastro, your host, and during the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about using wisdom to grow and protect our wealth. And as usual, we're fortunate to be broadcasting from the John DeVita Broadcast Center here on the northwest side of Chicago. And of course, you're listening to us this Friday morning on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS out of Norwich, Illinois. To start our program this morning, let me relay a word of wisdom. And the wisdom is, beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. It's financial wisdom. These are words of wisdom that'll help protect and add clarity, I hope, so that we can create, cultivate, and keep most of our wealth and our dollars in tax-efficient manners. There's steps that we'll discuss this morning that we can take in our finances and everyday life that'll help us through these times. Always I talk about the belief and the experience that I've had, inasmuch as that there's more opportunity to serve my clients by helping them avoid the losses than trying to pick the winners. There's really, folks, only two ways anyone can serve you in the financial service business. I don't know what you've been told in the past or what your feelings or beliefs are. Two ways that any advisor can help serve you in this business. One way is, of course, to help you find better products, better clubs, better investments that potentially pay higher returns. But these higher returns will often require more risk, a greater risk. The second way is to help you become more efficient with the resources you already have. And that's what I talk about when I mention the clarity and the financial words of wisdom. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. Benjamin Franklin. Wasn't it Benjamin Franklin that also said a penny saved is a penny earned? Many times as children we've laughed about that. Penny saved, penny earned. Whenever we find something on the sidewalk, we pick up a penny. Penny saved, penny earned. But we don't give much thought to it. What we're currently doing in preparation for our financial future. And that's a question that those of you who have sat down with me know that's one of the questions that we discuss when we initiate our conversation. What are we doing? What are you currently doing in preparation for the financial future? Do you know the answer that I get? For the most part, they tell me about the clubs they're using. No, I'm not talking about golf clubs. I'm talking about the products. I'm talking about, what we're doing for our future is our 401. See, the answers that I get will always be a product, but never a strategy. And I've talked for years and years about the process being one of the most important things. But we talk about the individual products that we have. Oh, I have my mutual funds, I have this or I have that. But and I relate that to an opportunity to play in the Masters, the golf, the greatest, most prestigious golf tournament in the world. We have a choice. We have a choice of one of two objects. We could have the swing of any player that's ever won the Masters tournament. We could have the swing of Sammy Snead or any of the other greats, or we could have their clubs, the product. What do you think will get us into the Masters? Well, if we just had their clubs, I could tell you this: I could have the greatest clubs in the world, from Sammy Snead to today's present champions, and I would still golf 113. But if I had their ability, the swing, their strategy, perhaps I could make the cut and play in the Masters. And it's that way with you and I, with our individual expenses. So this brings me to the topic that I wanted to share a few minutes with you, talking about the Christmas cash. We're buying, aren't we? People today, especially in this area, we come down Irving Park and going across Harlem, big shopping centers, one of the largest shopping centers in the entire city, right here in our own neighborhood. And what do we see, especially at this time? Well, we see parking, we see congestion, we see happy people, we see people carrying packages, we see people putting purchases on charge cards, we see companies or stores offering great savings. And I've said I don't know how you could save money by spending money, but nevertheless we put things on our credit cards and run up debts and compound the expenses, and never really much thought to how we're going to pay for that. You know, before we do any spending of any of our money, of any of our resources, we should first consider what it's going to cost us. How much is that? Oh, not just the cost that they put on the ticket, but the opportunity cost as well. Remember, it's not just what you pay, it's how you pay for it. So I wanted to mention just a couple of things this morning that might give us a little incentive to watch a little more carefully our purchases, especially the major purchases, and think about buying and borrowing and paying for some of these purchases that we will commit ourselves to in the days ahead. 3 ways to handle major capital purchases. First one, of course, is the debtor. That's the person that makes a purchase and then postpones the installments on that purchase along with the interest to a future date. And then, of course, we have the saver. That's the person who saves in installments and then delays the purchase until he could just buy the object in full. And then, of course, I can't mention debtor, saver without mentioning wealth creator. This is the person that builds a growing capital base, maintains the growth of the reserve while making his purchases. You've heard me talk about the 4 C's. The 4 C's of creating wealth: control, right? Liquidity, use, and control. We've talked about that over and over for the past several years. So it's important to maintain control of your money. And I want you to think of these 4 C's as we talk about how people buy and borrow and save to accumulate purchases. First one, control. How about compounding? We'll talk about that a little bit later today. How about collateral capacity? What is our collateral capacity? What do we mean by collateral capacity? And of course, we're familiar with the opportunity costs. That's not just the money we give up for the purchase, but what that money would have earned us had we not made that purchase throughout this period of time that we're accumulating, compounding, and warehousing our dollars. But let's talk about people, how people buy and borrow and pay for major capital purchases. Now, what I mean by major capital purchase, this is something that's going to be larger or something that we can't pay in full just out of our pockets or from our weekly or monthly cash flow. Maybe a new stove, maybe a new furnace, maybe a new providing for a wedding or a car. But let's look first at how we buy things. First we talk about the debtor. Well, this is a person who works to spend, no savings. They don't earn any interest because there's no savings to earn the interest in. In fact, they don't earn interest. They pay interest. That's the debtor. The saver, of course, he saves to avoid paying the interest. They earn interest on their savings, and then when it comes to make the buy, they pay cash. And then finally, our favorite is the wealth creator. He saves too, but he chooses to use other people's money to maximize efficiency. They compound their interest, and when it comes time to make the buy, they collateralize, meaning that they use someone else's money to keep compounding interest on their own money. Do you see how this relates to the 4 C's? Do you see how this maintains control of your money? How we're able to continuously compound our dollars? The use of collateral capacity? And of course the understanding that, of course, when we give up interest, we don't pay interest, and we pay cash, we're also giving up the interest that we would have earned. But let's see how each individual then would borrow, because all 3 of these must borrow to make their purchase. They either borrow from a creditor or they borrow from themselves. The borrower from the lender at the highest rates, whatever the going rate is at the time, 8%, 9, 10, 12, even 18%. And they use what? Well, they use their good credit, which means they use their future earnings as collateral. The saver, he borrows from himself, which reduces his current collateral position, and he resets the compounding. Did you think about that? When you save money and you accumulate money, withdraw your funds to pay cash, you're resetting your compounding. And we learn that you don't take off. The money doesn't grow exponentially until maybe the 17th, the 20th year. It's in that period of time that the money that compounds really takes off. So, we reset compounding over and over again. I'll give an illustration in a few minutes. But I think they also bring a human nature into the discussion. There are a few people who borrow from their own accounts and put the money back. They do that. They'll say, well, we've taken out $8,000, $12,000, $22,000. We bought the car for $35,000. We're going to accumulate and put that money back. But I know of no one who really puts the interest into the account equal to the interest they lost while they had the money out. That's, again, the opportunity cost. They don't compound the opportunity cost in their money. But let's look at the wealth creator. This is the third guy. Remember, the debtor, the saver, the wealth creator? He borrows from a lender at a negotiated rate. Doesn't pay the highest rates because they're negotiated. Uses his own money as collateral capacity, and then continues to earn uninterrupted compounding of the money that he has in his own account. He doesn't have to stop, withdraw, and reset the compounding of his dollars. We talked about compounding interest and how it's the eighth wonder of the world and how great it is to let your money compound. And it seems as everybody talks about that, everybody knows about it, but very few people will allow their funds to compound. And I've talked too about the various tanks. We have two tanks. We have a tank with our money in it at risk. We have a tank of safety. We generally withdraw from the safety tank and reset our compounding. On the other side, we have our 401, our mutual funds, going into a risk tank. Well, when our money's into a risk tank, do we consider it compounding? Could it possibly compound if it has a loss? 2008, we lost 38%, 40, some people 50% of their dollars. How can you continuously compound money if every 6, 8 years you take a big loss of 30%? You're not compounding your money, you're fooling yourself. But why don't we listen to an individual that will tell us about growing our money?
stand up and face the world. Let me tell you, your love keep on lifting me higher, higher and higher. And I said, your love keep on lifting me higher and higher. Now, sockets, all right, lift me up, woman. Keep my love going higher and higher. I said, keep on lifting. Lift me up, mama. Keep on lifting higher.
Higher and higher. Did you recognize that voice? Mr. Jackie Wilson from 1967. What we're talking about this morning is thoughts that we've had. What you thought was true turned out not to be true? When would you want to find out about it? And when would you want to find out about it? And do you want to find out about it? But let's continue looking at how savers, debtors, and wealth creators pay for their purchases. We know that the debtor, he'll have to make payments to the credit company or to the lender at the highest rates. He doesn't have a choice. He's caught. No bargaining positions whatsoever. Where the saver, he'll accumulate and he'll make payments from his own account to get back to where he was before he made that purchase. Don't forget, though, that he's giving up all the money that he had in that safe tank, and he spent the interest on that money, and he's not even going to earn interest because that money's not in the tank any longer. He'll have to then reset the compounding. Stop the compounding and start all over again. I don't care if it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. If he's 10 years closer to retirement or going to retire in 5-7 years, that's where the compounding will start. You think if he does this at age 50, in that 10-year period of 60, 62, he has much of a chance of compounding? No, time's not on his side. But let's look at the wealth creator. He'll make payments to the lender, but he'll allow his own money to continue to earn uninterrupted compound interest, and he'll maximize the benefits available to him because he has this reserve, this accumulated account, this warehouse of dollars. If I can, let's understand this a little bit better. Let's go over to the blackboard and just take a minute to draw a line, draw a horizontal line, and we'll have this line represent a position where you have nothing, you owe nothing. Just a horizontal line across the blackboard. Now let's take a look at the debtor. Now the debtor, he doesn't have any savings, so he's forced to borrow the money. Well, they borrow the money and they work towards paying it back. So borrowing the money then reduces the ability that we have for future dollars. So we can draw a vertical line down from the bottom of that horizontal line and then step it back. We're going to pay it back each and every year. Let's say we borrowed $30,000 for an automobile, 5 years, so we make 5 little steps, and the steps go back, and finally, after much huffing and puffing, we work back to getting where we were when we started. We're at the zero line again. What happens? Well, the car is 5-6 years older now. We've got to make another purchase. So we're forced then to draw another horizontal line, go into debt again for another $30,000 over the next 5 years, repay that money, and we continuously do that, never having an opportunity to getting above that line. We seem to be tied to that line, shackled to that line, but it's a line of credit. No, it's a line of debt. But let's take a look at the saver. Saver, he holds off. He postpones the gratification of that new car because he doesn't like to pay the interest. He saves until they have enough money, enough capital to pay cash, and then drains that tank to pay for the automobile. Again, he's moving back down to zero. Don't forget, he was on top of the line, accumulating money over the 5-year period of time, withdrew the money, tapped the tank, and has to start all over again because he finds himself without any funds. They continued this cycle, both of them, conceptually making payments to themselves until they're able to either borrow the funds for the next automobile or the next major purchase, or or accumulate money for the next purchase. So the wealth creator, this is what I'm talking about, is the saver, but he uses a different approach. He uses a wiser approach, an approach that has some wisdom attached to it. When they buy something, they collateralize it. They allow their money to stay safe, to continue to compound. And they finance the purchase at a much lower rate. Do they pay interest? Sure, they pay interest, but their money is earning interest. And as they get the loan repaid, they find themselves with more and more in their account than ever before. This is the wealth creator. Never gives up what? Does he have liquidity? Does he have control of his money? Yes. Does he have collateral capacity? Yes. Does he have compounding? Yes. Is he paying the interest back? Yes. So again, he has all the 4 C's of creating wealth working for him in this manner. You got to realize and understand what the real cost of paying cash is. I've talked to individuals that said, "Oh no, I don't pay any interest. I pay cash." But the true cost of paying cash, when you empty that tank, you reset the compounding, and that's going to have the impact on the growth curve. Remember, the individual that's age 50, 55 that has to reset this compounding doesn't have the years to accumulate as he did when he was in his 20s. So if we're looking at somebody who makes a deposit of $5,000 a year and assume a 5% return over a 30-year period, you could see what would happen when they drain that tank every 5 years and then take the next 4 years and refill it and drain the tank again. See, this is what the true cost is in borrowing money, even if you're borrowing it from yourself, because you lose the compounding and you lose the interest on the dollars that you've spent by tapping the tank, draining the tank. And this is why it's so important to know what the true cost is of your purchase. It helps you, gives you a better picture on how you can regulate the cash flow and the expenses, and of course maximize the savings and investment potential. All these dollars that you're putting out there, they're not going to come back to you. You can't use them to invest. You can't use those dollars to save. So in reality, you're going deeper and deeper in a hole without having the surplus or the money to back you up. But what if you could make the purchases without emptying that tank? What if you could do it all without spending every penny that you've accumulated? Why don't we talk about that when we take a look and see what Mr. Lee has to say about someone he's talking about or singing about.
Pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel, pretty little angel, pretty little, pretty little, pretty little angel. Pretty little angel eyes.
Hey, angel eyes, I really love you so. Hey, angel eyes, I'll never let you go, because I love you, my darling angel eyes.
Pretty little angel eyes.
Hey, angel eyes, you are so good to me, and when I'm in your arms, it feels so heavenly. You know I love you, my darling angel eyes. I know you were sent from heaven above to fill my life with your wonderful love. No, we'll be happy for eternity, 'cause now, whoa, that our love is really real. Angel eyes, I really love you so. Angel eyes, I'll never let you go, because I love you, my darling angel eyes.
Pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel, pretty little angel, pretty little, pretty little, pretty little angel.
have to say that the title of that song was Pretty Little Angel Eyes by Mr. Curtis Lee, and that takes us back to 1961. Taking us back to the blackboard, I draw these pictures because I think you should have an idea. It helps to formulate a picture in your mind of how the money flows. How the money flows from the time that it enters your hand until it's consumed, pumped up into one of your tanks, or lost forever by consuming or borrowing. So everyone has these economic models. Listen, there's those who understand it. They, as I've said before, they begin to create, cultivate, and keep their money in a tax-efficient manner. Because if we're going up a step and earning 8%, and we're giving away 30% of that 8% or 2.5% away to Uncle Sam, we're not making much progress, are we? So behooves us to create and cultivate and keep our money in a tax-efficient manner. Because those that don't do that are going to tend to live paycheck to paycheck. We don't want to find ourselves in that position. We want to attach a little bit of wisdom to what we're doing so that we could have a satisfying career in life. But what if you could make the purchases, the buys, without emptying those tanks? That would allow your dollars to continue to grow, compound. You'd minimize the lost and the associated lost opportunity costs that go along with draining that tank. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, if I don't use my money, whose do I use? Well, use the banks. You collateralize a loan from a financial institution. I did that when I purchased my first car. Believe me, Midwest Bank on Harlem and North Avenue. I went in there and collateralized the purchase of a new Buick at that time. It was $5,500 for the 225 Limited. I think it was 1963 or 65. But I found that collateralizing, I was able to keep my money, negotiate a good interest rate, and use my own money rather than borrowing it from someone else and paying the interest. I was earning interest at the same time that I was paying it, and the spread, the difference, was so minuscule because at that time we were able to deduct on our taxes interest expenses from banks or from a credit card company. So when you had a revolving charge account at Weebles right here at Harlem and Irving Plaza, Weebles isn't there anymore, and neither is the deduction on our income tax there anymore for that expense. You see, things change, and when we compound our dollars in a fund that we think is going to be to our benefit at age 60 or 65 or 70, Uncle Sam just scratches his head, steps back, and says, "Let me see how much money I need now. Well, debt's pretty high. We've got these going on now, and we've got more foundations to support. Well, we're going to need 35% of your retirement funds. So when we open up that package, when we open up our 401 envelopes that we get, especially now at the end of the year, we'll show year to date. That ain't your money, my friend. 30%, 20%, a big chunk of that, or a portion we can't even determine because we've postponed not only the taxes, we didn't save any taxes, we postponed the taxes, and what else? What else, my friends, did we postpone? We postponed the calculation of those taxes and the tax rate to be determined later. But I can tell you right now, we've got some harsh weather, so if we're going to the store, how about dropping in on a neighbor that may be not as inclined to go out in this kind of weather? Maybe they need some milk. Maybe they need some coffee. Maybe they need a helping hand. Why don't we lend it? Not just because it's this time of the year, but because of the people that we really are, good people and caring people. All right, that ends our conversation for today. Look forward to talking to you once again next week. Our phone number in the meantime is area 630-673-4637. 4360, or emails are fbelsecure, FBELSECURE. Out of time. Thanks, John. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again next week.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
when you're smiling,
and the whole world smiles with you.
smiles with you.
And when you're laughing,
When you're laughing,
oh, you're laughing.
oh, you're laughing,
When the sun comes shining through.
shining through.
When you're crying,
When you're crying,
you bring on the rain.
bring on the
Stop
rain.
your sighing.
Stop your sighing,
Won't you be happy again?
happy again.
When you're smiling,
When you're smiling,
keep on smiling.
keep on smiling.
And the world will smile with you. Let's go now. Let's go, Sam.
You have been listening to Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Friday, December the 16th, the year 2016. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita. Our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikondo. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening. Today's broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, December the 14th, the year 2016. Have a safe, warm, and enjoyable weekend. And this is Jack Frost FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.